We have come on this morning to remember how the King of Heaven was on earth, betrayed, rejected, and sent to his death by religious people who thought they were doing the right thing. We have come knowing that we ourselves would have done the same. But we believe, and in the life of Christ we see, that the love of God is greater than the wrongs of the world. That is the hope which takes us through the suffering and death of Jesus. Please remain seated as we sing hymn 341, verses 1, 4, and 6. A few days ago, we heard how the crowd vibe was turbulent but focused. Like Jesus, they were heading to Jerusalem. The crowd is impatiently curious about whether Jesus is the Messiah, a king, a divine warrior, or would he be armed and dangerous? Today, we hear some of the crowd as Jesus journeys towards the cross. After each person tells their story, we will respond with, I will be saying, he was crushed by our wrongdoing. He was sentenced by our mobs. And then we will sing the one verse, and we can do that now. Are you there? He crucified my Lord. Sometimes it So we'll get on with our stories. Kerry, can you just make sure that you've got the mic on down the bottom? Love technology. Last night, Jesus kept Passover with his disciples. After a somewhat charged atmosphere full of anger, fear, and doubt, Jesus and a couple of his mates went out into the garden. In the garden, he was arrested.
After his arrest at Gethsemane, Jesus was taken to the high priest's house. It was early in the morning. Peter followed at a distance and then warmed himself at a fire in the courtyard. He was sitting there when a servant girl confronted him.
I am that girl, and my name is Rachel. I work in the priest's house, so I know everything about everybody. That's why I recognised Peter. I'd seen him with Jesus, but I'd never seen anything like what happened this morning. I arrived at my usual time, about 5 o'clock, and I was going to start cleaning the main hall, but I couldn't get near it. The place was packed out. Everybody was shouting. It was like a madhouse, and I couldn't say anything. Well, what can I say now? Jesus, you don't deserve any of this. The men who hit you and swore at you might call themselves religious, but they're just scum, a pack of liars, the lot of them. They were jealous of you because people listened to you, because you said that God loved the poor, because you let us see that God could smile and heal and even cry. While all they could do was criticise and condemn people. I wish I'd spoken up this morning, Jesus. I wish I had shouted that you were a good man. I wish I'd told them that you had healed my little sister. I'm sorry, Jesus, that in the face of wicked men, I never put in a good word for you.
He was crushed by our wrongdoing. He was sentenced by the mobs. Stand by and watch injustice.
My Lord. The soldiers of the governor took Jesus to his residence. There they collected the whole company around him. They stripped him and dressed him in a scarlet cloak. They plaited a crown of thorns and put it on his head and placed a stick in his right hand. Falling on their knees before him, they jeered at him and shouted, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They spat on him and used sticks to beat him about the head. When they had finished mocking him, they stripped him of the cloak and dressed him in his own clothes. Then they led him away to be crucified. On their way out, they met a man from Cyrene, Simon by name, and they compelled him to carry Jesus' cross.
I'm Simon. I come from Cyrene, and I would not have been in Jerusalem today if it had not been for my business. I'm a traveler. And perhaps I would not have been asked to carry the cross if my race was not so obvious. "You, come here," they shouted. And what can a foreigner say in a crowd of locals? "Jesus, I don't know what all this is about. I've never seen such degrading cruelty. And the reason is beyond my understanding. What did you do to make people hate you? What did you do to get hung on a cross? You never robbed a bank. You never mugged innocent people. You never raped women, swindled money, planned an armed struggle, or committed treason. Most people say you were a holy man. Some say you were God's son. If this is the case, why are religious people persecuting you?"
He was crushed by our wrongdoing. He was sentenced by our mobs. Stand by and watch injustice.
My Lord. When they reached the place called the Skull, they crucified him with two criminals, one on his left, the other on his right. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing." The soldiers shared out his clothes by gambling for them. The people stood looking up, and rulers jeered at him. Then the soldiers joined in the mockery and came forward, offering him vinegar.
I'm the one who offered him the vinegar. My name is Cato. I just happened to be on execution duty. We all take our turn. None of us like it. You have to deal with women screaming, children bawling, and the odd drunk who wants to challenge the victim to a fight. Today was really unusual. A lot of people just kept quiet. The people who made the most noise were the priests and elders. It was the important people, those who normally keep back from executions, who were shouting abuse. And I have to admit that I was tempted to join in, just in case they thought I was on his side. What can I say now? Jesus, I was only doing my job. I know you've been framed. I know you shouldn't be up there, but I can't take you down. I'm not my own boss. Yet, this is a lame excuse. I wonder how many other people won't help you, won't speak up for you. Let the worst happen to you. And then say, it's not my fault. It's got nothing to do with me. I was only doing my job.
He was crushed by our wrongdoing. He was sentenced by our mobs. Stand by and watch injustice.
Near the cross on which Jesus hung, his mother was standing with his sister and another woman. Jesus saw his mother, and he saw the disciple he loved standing near her. He said to his mother, "Mother, there is your son." And he said to his disciple, "There is your mother."
And I am his mother. I am Mary. When he was a baby, an old man told me that one day sorrow would kiss my heart like a sword. This is that day. My heart breaks as I watch him, who put others before himself, being put to death before all others. What can I say? Jesus, when you were a boy, you once told me you had to be about your father's business. This is your father's business, and it has led you to this cross, made soon finished. May God who put you into my hands now take you into his.
All the mocking, all the torture, all the pain, and in front of those who watched from the crowd, Jesus said, "It is finished." Then he bowed his head and gave up the spirit.
Let us stand and sing when I survey the wondrous cross. It was on the Friday that they ended it all. Of course, they didn't do it one by one. They weren't brave enough. All the stones at the one time, or no stones thrown at all. They did it in crowds where you can feel safe and lose yourself and shout things. You would never shout on your own and do things. You would never do if you felt the camera was watching you. It was a crowd in the church that did it, and a crowd in the civil service that did it, and a crowd in the street that did it, and a crowd on the hill that did it. And he said nothing. We'll now hear from Mark's Gospel.
When it was noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, O Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, "Listen, he's calling for Elijah." And someone ran, filled a sponge with sour wine, put it on a stick, and gave it to him to drink, saying, "Wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to take him down." Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last. And the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. Now when the centurion who stood facing him saw in this way, Now when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was God's son." There were also women looking on from a distance. Among them was Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James, the younger of Joseph, and Salome. They used to follow him and provide for him when he was in Galilee. And there were many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem. When evening had come, and since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself waiting expectantly for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate wondered if he were already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he had been dead for some time. When he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. Then Joseph brought a linen cloth and took down the body, wrapped it in linen cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been hewn out of rock. He then rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where the body was laid.
Hurry up. We haven't got all day. Have you got your tickets, madam? You needed to print them out at home. I can't help you now. Look, just go over to the ticket place over there. They might have a spare one. Yes, I'm sorry that we're starting late. I'm as frustrated as you are. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Easter Temple Tour. We're currently in the community or secular part of the building. Various groups such as yoga, dancing, Toastmasters, martial arts, and discussions happen out here. Some of the discussions can be, very excited. We come to this door that separates the sacred space from the community space. You need to put a certain set of beliefs and attitudes to step through this door. We've now entered the sacred space. You can see that the congregates are arranged in rows. Keep up. Arranged in rows. And we're coming up through areas. Some people sit in these for maybe 50 years. We come to the raised platform. We step up. The first step is to the lay microphone. The lay microphone is for appropriately baptised people who can speak well. We don't want poor performance from behind this microphone. And subtly over here, this microphone is imbued with special powers. It is the preaching microphone where formal presentations of faith are taken. Right? You need to be specially qualified and often selected from among your peers to take part in that. We come to the back of the temple. This is for our most sacred ritual. The gates are only opened once per month. And again, you must be appropriately ordained to step through there. And we keep the ritual covered place with a purple curtain so ordinary people can't step inside. I have no idea what that's doing there.
Well, the cross, we'll let the tour guide know, the cross shatters our organization of sacredness. And the curtain is a symbol of our active part in separating God from humanity. But the cross shattered that. The cross brings the sacred and the secular together. It integrates. So I invite you to come and enter the holiest of places and take a piece of curtain with you. For Jesus' death not to be in vain, we need to separate from the crowd, from the mob, and reintegrate the secular and the sacred. I invite you to take a piece of curtain with you out into the world to remind yourself of that. And we'll leave in silence.